My life exploded in one single morning. The same morning I realized I was nothing but an ATM to my son and his new wife. I paid for the whole wedding. The big banquet hall, the tuxes, the cake. It was all on me. But I wasn't even invited. Seriously? I remember staring at the invitation Link the groom, my son, had sent. It read like a placeholder. Vague address. No RSVP. No seat assignment. I shrugged. He'll call soon, I told myself. Later I got a text. Don't worry, Dad. Everything's covered. See you when you drop off the check. I didn't blink. I replied, cool, man. I got it. That night, lying awake on the sagging mattress in my small Chicago apartment, I replayed everything. My wife and I had busted our asses for 25 years, blue-collar labor, second jobs, overtime just so the kid could go to a decent school, maybe get a shot at something better, right? I believed it. I wanted him to have the world. I thought about pulling out my old checkbook the next morning. But deep down, I felt a tight knot in my gut. For some reason, it didn't sit right. My phone buzzed. Don't need anything else. Trust me. Trust him? I barely recognized the dude typing. Not my kid. I rolled over, feeling smaller than ever. I muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." And yet, I slept badly. Tomorrow would be the wedding, and I'd drop off the money. But something told me that'd be the last time I saw him. Cliffhanger. I didn't know it yet, but tomorrow, I'd realize how deep I'd fallen for the con. Morning came harsh. The smell of stale coffee filled the apartment. I stared at the blank wall across from me. Inside, I rehearsed what I'd say when I handed the envelope over. Happy life, pal. That's it. No strings. No expectations. I packed my worn leather briefcase, grabbed the envelope from the kitchen counter, fat with crisp bills, and walked to the old '89 Chevy. Engine sputtered, but it held. I flipped on a radio, some classic rock station, but the music seemed wrong today. Everything felt wrong. Traffic was crawling slow, Chicago rush hour, but I didn't care. My thoughts were racing faster than any taxi weaved through lanes. My wife's voice echoed in my head. Be careful, don't let him use you. I shook it off. She'd always been distrustful of that girl, my son's fiancée. Don't be crazy, hon, I whispered aloud. By midday, I pulled up near the banquet hall, a big beige building with columns and tall glass doors. Outside, limos idled, guys in tuxes puffed cigars. I could smell polished floor cleaner and expensive cologne mingling with cheap ambition. I locked the car and walked up the steps. My heart hammered. My palms were sweaty. I clutched the envelope like it was glass. I stepped into the lobby. Fancy marble floors, flower arrangements, a guy in a suit with a clipboard. My stomach dropped. That clipboard had all the guest names. I cleared my throat. I'm here to drop off. Poor dude barely glanced at me. Thanks, sir, but you're not on the list. Cliffhanger. My hand froze, and that's when I realized I wasn't invited at all. I stared at the clipboard. Names I didn't recognize. All the cousins, all the friends, but not mine. Not Dad. Not John Warner. Not Greg's father. Just nothing. I could feel rage rising, clenching my teeth. You gotta be kidding me. I tried to steady my voice. Look, I'm his father. I paid for this whole thing. The guy's eyes flicked from the clipboard to me, annoyed, like I had a pest problem. Sorry, sir. Only people with seats inside are welcome. Drop boxes outside. He pointed to a small metal bin next to the door. I glanced down, a cheap little thing with a slot. Envelope would drop in there, vanish forever. My heart froze mid-beat. How could they treat me like I was nothing? I raised the envelope up, took a breath. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Suddenly a voice behind me, smooth, soft. Dad. I spun. There she was, my boy's fiancée. She looked sharper than ever. Designer dress, fake smile. Her eyes flicked to the envelope. For a second, I thought she'd reach out. Instead, she turned on her heel and walked away. The guy in the suit cleared his throat. Drop boxes over there, sir. I remember air rushing out of my lungs, like someone pulled a curtain around me. I stepped forward, ready to drop the check, but my legs wouldn't move. I realized I was broken. Cliffhanger. I left the hall with the envelope tightly in hand, but my world, my belief, had crumbled. Back in the car, I sat for minutes, gripped tight on the envelope, staring at nothing. The engine idled. I thought about my wife, how disappointed she'd be. She trusted me. I trusted my son. And now nothing. Damn. I flicked on the radio again. The DJ played a love song, something cheesy, but I couldn't stomach it. I shut off the radio and rolled down the window. Cold air slapped me in the face, but I didn't feel alive. I just felt numb. I couldn't go home. Not yet. I drove aimlessly, roaring past concrete towers, graffiti-tagged alleyways, puddles reflecting streetlights. I thought, maybe I should just forget about the money. Toss the envelope. Walk away. But something inside me snapped. The betrayal stung too much. Not just the wedding, the deception, the cold, calculated cruelty. I realized this wasn't about money. It was about respect. And that, you don't buy. You demand. I pulled over near an old diner and parked under a flickering street lamp. I sat there for a long time, watching the envelope, wondering if tonight would be the night I lost everything or the moment I started fighting back. Cliffhanger. I decided I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Next morning, I showed up at their house, the big suburban one with pristine lawn, for sale sign in the window. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder. No one. Just a hush of wind, leaves fluttering. I peered into the window, through the blinds. Boxes stacked in the living room. Moving day stuff. I realized they were gone. Off to start their new life. My kid, my daughter-in-law, all packed, moving on, leaving me behind. I stood there, fists clenched, breath shallow. I knocked once more and yelled their names. No response. I walked away, boots crunching on gravel, the envelope burning hot in my jacket pocket. As I turned to leave, I spotted something taped to the front door. Thanks, Dad. Red heart, handwritten. A mocking note. I stared at it. For a second, I thought I might throw the envelope at the door. Smash glass. I pictured the pieces flying. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded. Or maybe I didn't. I couldn't tell. I walked back to my car without a word. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel. I felt emptiness, but also something else. Something raw. Pain. Hurt. Rage. And underneath it, clarity. They didn't care I existed. They never did. What they wanted was easy money, zero strings. But me? I was going to give him something to remember. Cliffhanger. I didn't know how, but I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Back in my apartment, I sat at the kitchen table, under a single dim bulb, cheap linoleum, the smell of old coffee lingering in the air. I pulled out my laptop and began typing. Names, dates, transactions, wedding vendor receipts. I printed them all. The flicker of the screen cast a ghostly glow on my face. I scrolled credit card bills, wire transfers, email confirmations, every cent of the wedding. I saved copies. Back UPS, PDFs, photos of the vendors, the hall, the cake. All time-stamped, all paid, all with my card. I felt powerful for the first time in days. The betrayal turned into ammunition. Then I dialed a number I'd been afraid to call. The attorney we used years ago after the big layoff, a sharp-tongued lady from a small downtown office. "Hey, it's me," I said when she picked up. "I need help. Bad." Her voice, calm, measured, asked, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, I'm done being the patsy." I hung up. My hand stopped shaking. I felt a flicker of hope, something I thought buried under disappointment. Cliffhanger. I was about to set things in motion, and they had no clue what was coming. Days later, I stepped into the attorney's office, cramped, old-booked, the kind of place where justice still smelled of musty paper and determination. She flipped through the stack of documents. I sat across from her, back straight, envelope untouched beside me. She looked up. "This is thorough," she said, tapping on the papers. "You've got every vendor, every dollar." She paused, then quietly. "We file suit. We subpoena the couple, the venue, the vendors. You demand recompense, plus punitive damages for fraud and emotional distress." I blinked. Punitive damages? Seriously? "Yeah, they tried to erase you. Legally, we make sure that doesn't happen again." I nodded, heart pounding. I hadn't churned this up to get a little partial refund. I wanted to make sure they felt it. I wanted them to regret ever thinking I was a gullible old man. Walking out, the November wind bit at my skin. I pulled my coat tight. I felt lighter, like I was walking out of the fog. I wasn't broken anymore. I was ready. Cliffhanger. They were moving across state lines, but the law? That travels. Court day. I sat in the courtroom. Cheap suits around, flickering fluorescent lights, that stale smell of forced civility. My son shuffled in late. Bride-wife looked sharp, too sharp, smiling for cameras maybe. I felt no warmth, just cold resolve. The judge called the case. Papers were read, evidence laid out, credit card statements, wire transfers, testimonies from vendors confirming I paid, all lined up like dominoes ready to fall. The couple's lawyer argued. This was a gift. Gratitude, not obligation. We didn't exclude him. We just assumed he wanted privacy. Ridiculous. The judge raised an eyebrow. So did I. Then my attorney stood and slammed a photo on the table. A screenshot of the note. Thanks, Dad. Red heart with a timestamp. Right after the deposit cleared. The room went silent. I saw jaws drop. My cheeks heated, but this time with power, not shame. The judge cleared his throat. This looks intentional. Fraud and emotional damages. I'm inclined to rule in favor of Mr. Warner. I heard a gasp from the crowd. My son's face went pale. The woman's smug grin froze. I leaned back, breathing slow. I still held the envelope in my jacket pocket. Cliffhanger. Did I win? Did I finally get payback? The verdict was coming. Verdict delivered. Full refund of every dollar I paid, plus a substantial judgment for damages. The courtroom erupted. Whispered shock, some applause, mostly stunned silence. My son's eyes flicked toward me, pain and desperation mixing, but also anger. His wife's face was frozen in disbelief. I felt a strange calm wash over me. I closed the envelope and slid it across the table. Here's your refund, I muttered. Keep it. He looked at me, lips quivering. Dad, please. Let's talk. I stood up chest tight. There's nothing to talk about. I turned and walked out. The room faded behind me. The stares, the murmurs, the judgment. But I felt lighter. Freed. Cliffhanger. I didn't know what had happened next, but I knew I wouldn't go back. Weeks later, I'm driving down I-65, out of Illinois, headed toward Portland. Somewhere fresh, somewhere quiet. I've got a small apartment waiting, temp job leads, nothing fancy. Just a clean slate. I roll down the window, listen to country radio mixing with the breeze. I taste freedom. I think about my wife, long gone past years back. She would have been proud. She always told me I was stronger than I knew. Maybe she was right. I reach into the glove box and pull out my phone. I open a blank doc. I start typing. A new chapter. My own story. The kind that doesn't need permission. I whisper to myself, this is for real. I'm done being used. Cliffhanger. And you know what, bro? I might just write a hell of a book about this. That night, I flicked on my laptop, finishing up the first draft of a memoir tentatively titled Used and Forgiven. The night my betrayal turned into my freedom. I stretched, cracked my knuckles. I almost laughed. The irony was sweet. Then I saw an email pop up from the venue. Subject, missing funds, payment confirmation. I frowned. I opened it. It said the payment for the wedding was still marked as pending. In other words, the couple never paid. Not to the venue, not to the caterer. The only payment was mine. Suddenly it hit me. I didn't just pay for the wedding. I had bankrolled their entire new life, new move, deposit on that suburban house, rent, maybe even flights, honeymoon, whatever else. The refund? That was just the tip of the iceberg. I could sue for everything. House, car, moving costs, emotional damage, probably more. For a long second, I sat still. Then I smiled. A small, satisfied grin. I typed a new subject line. Demand for full restitution and punitive damages. Final notice. I hit send. Leaned back. The darkness outside was quiet. My heart was calm. I whispered, game over. That's the story, the one I lived. From betrayal to justice. If you ever felt used, ignored, taken for granted, remember you've got power. You got the right to stand up. I did it. I reclaimed my dignity, my money, my life. If you want more stories like this, raw, real, and full of justice served, hit that subscribe button. This is mystery and revenge, and I've got plenty more where this came from. Stay sharp, stay strong, and never let anyone treat you like you're invisible. Yendi,